with Paranormal Radio Live. Tonight's topic is going to be ancient Carthage and the, child sacrifice. Is it fact or fiction? In the welcome discussions are open to the live chat. So, welcome. Let's begin.
Did you not put your ass live?
You're such a shit.
They didn't catch the very beginning, but it caught like 90% of it. So we are live. Welcome to the show, guys. That was Aaron's wonderful introduction that he didn't know he was doing. Tonight's topic is Carthage, and there's child sacrifices.
This is going to be quite the episode. So if you want to chime in.
That was his Kermit the Frog, among other impressions that you have. So, Starr, did you ever watch that movie I sent you about Carthage? That guy that fought for them?
Me?
Yeah, I sent you a title. I don't know if you ever watched it.
On
Hannibal? All about it. Yes, Hannibal.
I forgot all about it, but I read a lot.
I have to admit, I fell asleep halfway through it.
I've been in the middle of a move, and the storms around here have been crazy. As a matter of fact, if we get cut off, we've got another one coming. So.
Oh, wow. Well, we'll just have to hold it if you get cut off and add you back in.
I may have to run to the basement. If I do, I can't take you with me.
Hey, that would make for some good broadcasting, some good episode. I bet we'd get a lot of viewers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well,
but you have to come back as Harry Carey.
Aaron, I don't even know what to say.
I bet half of our young viewers don't even know who Harry Carey was.
There was something at work.
Oh, he was Harry. So
Harry Carey.
Yeah, he was very hairy.
He was a very Harry Carey.
He was a scary Harry Carey.
Well, he was the voice of the Cubs for God knows how long.
Yep.
You know, probably more eccentric than Christopher Walken and Jeff Goldblum put together.
Oh man, living. I love both of those actors, by the way.
You guys dating yourselves?
Do we hate ourselves? Is that what you said?
Dating yourselves?
Yeah, I'm dating myself. I took myself out for a nice dinner, you know.
Right. Steak dinner. I had somebody at work off topic last week. Didn't know who Ace of Base was.
Didn't know what? Ace of Base?
Yes. So of course, the ones that knew, I'm like, sing it for them. And of course, they were just beat red. They're like, I'm not going to do that song. But I work with some really young nurses, so they don't know. They're all like I swear they got to be 18. I don't know how they made it through nursing school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if it's 2 years of nursing school, then they're all 20.
At least.
Yeah, right. We would hope. I don't know. There's those fake ones with the fake
Too young
glasses.
for me.
So I didn't know where the F Carthage was. Let's get it right.
It was Carnage.
It was a very carnage in Carthage.
Right. I didn't even know where it was at till I looked it up, to be honest. When I started.
It's now modern day Lebanon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I was reading like part of the coast of Africa too, like Northwest Africa.
Where it was located is now Lebanon.
Okay, and like, so did you read much on the Punic, like the religion itself? Because I saw that their language was or religion was Punic, but other than when you get into the details of the child sacrifice, I didn't know if you figured out any more to it.
They are descended from the Polynesians.
Okay.
and another group also kind of intermingled together there. But yes, they're descended from the Polynesians, from what I read. And that came out of, I believe that was an Oxford University study.
Yes, I did read that the Oxford University was like highly involved in proving that that is truth and not just myth.
Right, and that's
Right.
led by Dr. Quinn, not
QU.
medicine woman.
Oh, right. So I'm assuming that's still QUINN.
Yeah, but Dr. Quinn is pretty adamant on the fact that it happened. I mean, we're talking about 200 years where there's been an argument if it didn't happen or it did happen.
Well, kind of like with the Holocaust. There's people that are saying, "Well, it never happened," but it did, you know. And I often wonder, okay, how long is it going to take before they try to really push that down and stifle it so much, you know?
But I mean, it's not. I don't think we can compare the two.
No, and I agree with that. The only comparison that I'm making is that here I'm stumbling over my words. Thank you, Aaron.
No, okay. I think I understand what you're saying. Like you're talking about whether or not to acknowledge the fact.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Acknowledging it. I'm not saying that it was anywhere close to being similar, except in the fact that people are refusing to acknowledge it. Until recently with Carthage.
And the ones who have claimed for the last 120 years is the Greeks and the Romans, who have said that it has occurred. But the Tophits, and you know what the Tophits are. Should we explain what Tophits are?
Yeah, I would definitely explain what it is.
Okay, so a Tophit is kind of like a child cemetery. They're burial grounds for children. They're not. You don't generally find adults or teens. These are children, and they're called Tophits. Well, the Tophits, that what was it? Some 348 bodies, I believe, they found in these Tophits at Carthage, and there's been no evidence to either concur the child sacrifice or deny the child sacrifice. But the Greeks and the Romans have claimed that it has happened for the last 200 years. But the same Tophits have been found in both Athens, Rome, which are both in Italy and in Greece. So, you know,
well, they have those slabs.
On pot.
They have those slabs above the Tophits, though, where like honoring their sacrifices. So that's proof in itself, right there.
I don't know.
You're sitting here saying I made the sacrifice and I'm honoring the sacrifice, and they found correlation between war and bad times and the sacrifices, because when they went through these bad times, that's when they made these sacrifices to the gods, saying, please get us through this bad time, yada. And so that's when they had all these increased numbers of deaths. Kind of makes sense.
And I'm not going to say that I totally disagree with you, Aaron, because you and I both we like to study history a lot. But what I was reading today, there was a professor, and I can't remember if it was at Stanford or Oxford or where it was at, that said that when they did the archaeological findings, I was thinking that he said that it was definitely sacrifice because of the way that some of the bodies, the children, or some of the bones, the way that they were burned.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to find this.
I have read the same thing.
So I think that the point I'm trying to instrue here is, I don't want our viewers to think that we're discussing this as this heinous act of humanity in this culture, because we're talking about 2,500 years ago, right? So it was a different time. They had different understandings, different beliefs, different fears. Uh,
Exactly.
2,500 years ago, we had other cultures doing the same thing, from the Aztecs to the Incas, who were doing child sacrifices. The Israelites, biblically, have been doing what they call child burns or burning sacrifices. So I don't. I think what I'm trying to make the point is, I
Right.
don't want us, the viewers, to think that we are. We're saying that this
Demonizing
is a
it.
horrible, or a horrible culture. This culture is thank God they're gone. Things like that, because it's
Yeah.
historically they were moving on a religious basis.
Right.
It's essentially the same thing, and people are going to disagree with me, but I'm going to say it. Essentially, it's the same thing with indoctrinating your children to the church. When you get them, what is that called? I'm Jewish, so I don't know, but
Baptized or
not baptized, but when you the Catholics do this,
Confirmation.
thank you, when you confirm them to the church, is that not a form of modern day sacrifice, where you're giving your children's soul to the church?
Yeah.
yeah.
So I
I
mean,
see what you're saying.
right. So essentially, they were doing what they felt religiously was important to do, which was they had to do. Um, uh, Biblically, Christian and Jewish side, we've done the same thing. Look at Abraham, and it's sacrificing the first sons and the things like that. It has happened in our own spiritualities and our own religious development and our own religious growth. So I don't want viewers to think that we're bashing, or we're saying how horrible of a culture this was, because that's not the case. I think
Right.
they,
Well, I think they even felt some guilt in it because there were reports where they felt that it was distasteful to the extent that they started buying other children to sacrifice for this purpose because they felt so terrible doing it with their own children. And they were such a major trading hub of all sorts, but of children, and they used them for slavery as well.
right.
And then of course, but they're always young. I mean, the
Well,
ones
I mean,
that were all found dead were infant to 2 years of age.
but the purchased human sacrifice wasn't new at that time either. I mean, you look at
Yeah.
Stonehenge, look at the Nords, the Vikings. They would sacrifice slaves constantly to appease their gods. I mean, even so much into cultures deeper into Africa.
But I didn't find what was weird is I didn't really see anything where they were sacrificing them beyond 2 years of age. It was always the younger
Right. It's the
younger
spawn of the
age.
of the firstborn. It's between the ages of birth and 1 year is ideally the what's the word I'm looking for? The innocence period, where it's complete innocence. And
Okay.
that's the ultimate sacrifice, is the ultimate sacrifice of innocence. Look at the Greeks and the Romans and their virgin sacrifice. It's the ultimate innocence. Between the Aztecs, the Inca, and the Maya, it was the ultimate innocence. It's the purest of blood, is basically what it is.
Right. Well, and even it was one of those three, the Maya or the Inca or the Aztec. I can't remember, but they also chose on beauty.
Yeah, on looks. And well, I guess you don't want ugly people running around with the
Yeah.
gods. I don't know.
I would be safe.
I mean, the Elephant Man would not be a choice. It's not.
You don't want to offend God? Is that what you're saying?
I'm wondering if that's what they thought. Like, well, we've got the Elephant Man. He's ready. He's out the door. He's got about 6 days left. So let's just sacrifice him. And then I could just picture that. He gets up there and he's like, "Are you appeased?" And the God's like, "What the fuck is that?" So
We're going to get demonetized.
That's funny.
but that's the point, because I mean, beauty. What happens when we grow old? That beauty is said to fade, and that's even a huge cultural impact on today's world. Is that idealizations of beauty? What is beautiful? And back then, beauty could have been hazel eyes or blue eyes. I mean, that's a rarity at that point, because you weren't seeing those kinds of things unless you were in Norway and the Germanic areas. But I mean, it makes total sense that 0 to 1 years of age, and they weren't the only culture doing the same thing of that 0 to 1 year of age. Um, it's the ultimate innocence. That's the cleanest blood you've got, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, it means that this is a paranormal group. My question to you guys, I did all kinds of research. I couldn't find anything to where, because we've often said, theorized that when such horrible things have happened to people, such tragedies or horrific deaths, um, that usually there's a haunting that comes along with that, for whatever
That it
reason.
places a mark.
Yeah,
But I don't think that that's the case here.
I haven't
Uh,
seen anything.
Culturally, when it comes to human sacrifice, it wasn't this
because it wasn't done
insane,
out of,
crazy, scary thing. It was very delicate. It was very respectful. The individuals who were used for sacrifice, they were comfortable. They were very well taken care of. They were cleaned, which hygiene was not on the top of everybody's list. Um,
it
they
still
were
isn't
given
these days.
right. They were given things like milk baths, and so they were treated so very well in most cultures. There's really no evidence to show of how these infants were treated in Carthage.
Mhm.
But if we're talking about the area, and especially at this time, 2,500 years ago, so we're looking at between the periods of what 32,000 BC to 400 BC.
Mhm.
Um, you would venture to think that they would be treated in the same manner. They were comfortable. A lot of them were given incense and different herbs that were actually causing relaxation, and I mean essentially they were high. So
Yeah.
could they really be aware of the horrific event that was about to occur?
Right. Because
You know
believe it
what
or
I'm
not,
saying?
marijuana existed back then.
Well, not just marijuana.
I know. There was all
Not
kinds of
just marijuana. Opiates have been around for a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I don't know if it was so tragic, if it was so traumatic for the individual that they would that kind of imprint. Now, don't get me wrong. I think anytime that much blood stains the ground, it leaves an impression.
Yeah.
But as for the individual themselves, I would not venture to even guess or assume that there would be anything left behind because of how comfort. I mean, it's Dr. Kevorkian,
Yeah. Well, here's where that
2000
question
BC.
came from. The question comes from me thinking, okay, if I'm going to be sacrificed, I'm going to be scared to death. It's a horrible thing. I don't want it to happen to me. So that's my way of thinking,
Yeah, but
not even thinking
at
about how
birth
that
to
they
a
were
year old, are
prepared.
you even aware that that's what's happening?
Yeah, exactly. Are you even aware that's what's happening? Uh,
And times have changed. Like this is modern day versus
yeah.
BC.
Most people, when they think of sacrificing someone, they think of being scared to death, pain. I mean, you look at the movies; they always show these people that are, don't do this to me, and begging all of this, and then they throw them off into the volcano.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got to dramatize it somehow.
Well, exactly.
But
But
you also
there's a
have to
lot of
remember that
people
this
that,
is a time where people are not pushing children out left and right.
yeah,
I mean, the mortality rate of children at this time is very high. Uh, you don't have things to combat influenzas. You don't have things to combat the smallpox or scarlet fevers or anything that is ailing them at that time, right? There's no vaccines that you can give your infants as babies to help them fight off whatever disease is occurring in their area.
mhm,
So I don't think that these were things that were taken lightly. Just given human nature, no parent just freely gives up their child,
right,
right? Unless you're a very terrible human being.
mhm,
But I mean, it's not like you can just pop out another child, and of course it'll live till 18. till it has kids of its own. I mean, this was a risk. You would have to think that it would be a risk. You have one daughter and you just gave birth to a son, and now you have to sacrifice that son. You may never have another son. You may never have another child. But yet you are going to sacrifice this child, I don't know, to save your crops or to get rid of the storms that are decimating your land or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying?
Is that what I need to do over here?
We didn't say
I think we call that
anything.
global warming. I don't know.
That's funny.
But you get where I'm coming from and why I asked that.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I think that any time
most people are automatically going to think that because we've been in, we in this time and age, life is a very precious thing. It's been always precious, but we don't do the human sacrificing.
But we do. We just do it in a different way.
We do it in a different way. Yes, exactly. But I'm talking about death.
Oh, but we do, and we do it in a different way.
Okay.
We're getting political here.
I know.
I
Well, no, it's not really political. It's not really based on politics. It's based on what we, and it's not just us. I think it's humanity as a whole on the modern look, but it's based on what we deem as, well, I don't want to say normalcy, but what we deem as acceptable amount loss of life. For example, there are thousands of people dying every second in Africa of things like HIV. And we help them. But what about the genocide that's going on with the children there? You know what I'm saying? So we're doing our own form of human sacrifice, just we're not as aware of it as walking our infant child to an altar and having a priest do a ceremony and then slitting its throat.
Yeah.
And that's brutal as hell, and I'm sorry, but it's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's and I feel terrible because I started out doing this damn thing as Kermit the Frog, and now I'm like slitting their throats. I feel like today's message is brought to you by the letter A.
Yeah, right. Like it's a kids' show here, and we're talking about child sacrifice.
No.
We should have did a little disclosure at the beginning, not for children.
Right.
Yeah, we should have. Yeah.
No one under 18. Oh man. Well, I don't know. Other than that, do y'all have any more inputs on Carthage and all that before we wrap up and go into the next roundtable to talk about that? Because I really don't have much more.
I don't have much more either. I mean,
I don't either. We know that it happened.
It's more of a debate than it is about gaining information because there's tons of information to either side of the spectrum. So, I mean, we could sit here for 5 hours and debate it, but
yeah.
I don't think anybody would watch it for 5 hours, to be honest with you.
No,
maybe we could get it in different voices.
Right. I think the university really did a good job about, dating everything back to 400 to 200 BC and with the urns and everything, like Starr was saying, just kind of confirming it, whether, right or wrong, or, that was, like you said, it wasn't a terrible thing at that time. I mean, I think it's just something you can definitely confirm and say was done.
Well, yeah, and I would agree with that.
All over the world. Anywhere that there was culture, just about anywhere there was culture, this was going on. Right.
So I just wanted to mention, though, before we leave, we have 3 roundtables coming up.
Yay!
Fun. So the first roundtable
we still have 20 minutes. Do y'all want to touch on something else? Actually, we have 30 minutes.
We have 27 minutes.
Well, that's 27 minutes we can talk. By the way, I love these headphones you've got on.
Oh, my bedazzled.
Your bedazzled headphones. This is wonderful.
I almost got my name put in them. Look at.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember.
I I could just see Kearney with these, these zirconian things, the little faux diamonds, and he's got his hot glue gun and gluing it in there for you.
No, these are icy couture, girl. If he knew how much I spent on these, he would shit a brick.
He would shit a brick. Hi.
Let me just tell you,
Are you there?
more than 5 on these. But they're pretty cool. They plug in down under here to charge them. They just, I don't know, they're just sweet. I can't even describe them. They fold up all sweet.
Uh-huh.
It's like that.
Cool. I like that.
They're cool. I don't know. I wanted my own, since we do so many shows. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy a nice pair of headphones that work really good.
I'm not gonna buy a nice pair.
I know everybody has their own thing.
One day I will get something, and I will have an office like you, Lisa, and Aaron.
Well, it helps with my hearing loss. I've noticed with having the sound shoved in around my ear, it kind of tunes out everything else.
So those are noise canceling.
Mine, because y'all don't even know. You don't even notice. That's how amazing it is. But I'm hearing you through my hearing aids. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I want my hearing loss. Look,
but the ones that I can't. Well, I've noticed them when we talk. Like I'll notice them just when you turn sideways slightly. I'll notice them here and there, but they're so small.
They're little earrings. Like Aaron, you have things buzzing around your ears. They're bugs.
Oh my God! I gotta get them.
Did your insurance cover those, Aaron?
Insurance? You know how long I had to fight the VA to get these?
Or VA? Yeah.
Our VA is a beautiful. Let's talk about human sacrifices in modern day world.
Yeah.
Did they pay for them though? Hopefully. I can't. Mine won't even pay for like 50%. Like they'll pay for one hearing aid. Like 50%.
But most insurances don't. The VA has to because of them, my ears are just screwed.
Well, can I make a suggestion real quick? Before we start losing people, let's go ahead and make our announcements for the...
Are we losing people? How do we even see where these people are?
Well, not necessarily.
Anybody out there?
Are they beating down the door right now? But I'm talking about losing them from watching it in the future all the way through. So.
Oh, okay.
So why don't you tell us about what our next policy is?
There you go. You got to keep your Kermit thing going.
Gotta keep the Kermit thing going.
So June 16th, let me look at the topics here. June 16th, we have it's our roundtable to discuss like police and FBI use of medium psychics, remote viewing, and psychometry. Our speakers that are joining us are Dr. Chuck Kennedy, Brian Cantu, Justin Brown, and medium Katrina Cooper. So that should be fun.
And Starr and I.
And And then July 8th will be our second round table. And that one's about different forms of communication. Specifically, we picked dowsing rods, pendulums, and Ouija boards. But if we have time, we can toss on as much as we want to toss on.
Who's joining us for that one?
Yeah, that's what I was just looking. I like how I put info and link to come. Actually, I've got it somewhere else. Let me look right here. I've got it in another spot too. For that one, we have Denise Pridemore, Aaron Thompson, and possibly, and on that first one, I forgot Dave Spinks may be adding on. He's thinking about it for the medium one because he has a police background. So I figure people with, those kind of backgrounds are good. Like Ken too has a police background. And then with the communications, so we have Denise Pridemore, Aaron Thompson. He's from some show. I can't remember. I met him the other weekend at that event I went to in Dog Patch. Super nice guy, great investigator. And then Linda Anthony Hill, who owns the house in Gainesville, said she might possibly be able to. So that one's still got an opening for maybe 1 or 2 people. And then Monday, July 22nd, we're doing demonology and Dybbuk, which I know Aaron is our professional on Dybbuk. And so I've been in touch with like different demonologists and stuff to see who would want to come on and discuss that and get their different inputs. Because, you know, I mean, I hate I don't want them to bump heads as long as they can be respectful of each other. But maybe if we get like 3 different demonologists on, or a bishop or something like that to join us. And then of course you got your church background too. So church background, his background, everybody's background.
I have a law enforcement background. I'm a physical medium, but I wear a large. Did you get that? A little psychic joke.
So it should be fun. I can't wait for the round tables to get some more people in and get their input on stuff and just see like the interaction between everybody.
It seems like just from looking on Facebook and on YouTube, there's a lot of people that are already saying, yeah, we'll be there. We want to hear this. I want to hear this. You know, I'm going to be there too. I want to hear this. Yeah. So, you know, and a good thing. Have you got one more that you wanted to announce?
No, we have those three round tables set up, and I didn't schedule anything further because summer's coming. Give us a break, or however you want to space them out. But I thought just do 3 round tables, and then if you want to do like one every few months, or however often y'all feel like doing them.
And we can put all that information too in the link below the video. Also, we are on Patreon, and we appreciate so much. We've already got a couple of people that are looking, and we appreciate so much any donations, whatever that come our way, because it'll go towards equipment or road trips, us being able to help people out, you know, and so we thank you for that.
Yeah, I want to make a shout out to Bree at Catrione. It's Catrione. It's she also goes by Brenda, and I was doing a psychometry group with her here at the house. We had a small group once a month, and she found out about Patreon and has joined and has been watching and making a monthly contribution. So I had talked to her recently and explained what it goes towards, and that it does help us out with our travels and helping others and stuff. So although she was highly interested, but she said she was too chicken shit to sleep anywhere haunted or anything like that. It was so hilarious. She was funny.
Oh, we have fun. We just have fun.
Yeah, but we don't sleep either.
Well, I do. I don't know. Like last time I was at Haunted Hill House the other day.
Yeah, we kept going. You would sleep, you know.
But no,
I was in that one room. Remember with the room we entered? They had that couch Lisa kept falling asleep on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go take a nap, you guys. I'm gonna go take a nap. Someone watch the video.
Wake me up when something happens. Sometimes they don't let you sleep. So.
Little Miss Beauty Queen, I gotta have my sleep.
After about like 3 a.m., I'm like, all right. And that's when we were at Haunted Hill House with Maria, I think it was probably around 2, 3 a.m., something like that, and I had work the next day. I had to leave at 9 a.m. for work. So I slept like a baby in there in the axe room. It was wonderful sleep.
Yeah.
So she's probably tuning in. So I just wanted to give that shout out to her for being involved. And we'll even give you a special Kermit voice, maybe.
Do what?
She's requesting a Kermit. Thank you.
She is.
Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate your voyeurism.
We can do a whole show on interpretation, or not interpretations, impressions. I can't even talk tonight.
Right.
How many different impressions can you do?
Oh, tons. Just do a couple. Go, hi. Let me ask you a question. If you were a hot dog, would you eat yourself? I would.
Ladies
I'll
and
put relish
gentlemen,
on my bun. I'd be good.
ladies and gentlemen, this is what we deal with when we're investigating
Yes.
places. This goes on all night long.
Oh my God. I think the next time we go out, I'm going to do that. So when you go through the EVP screenings and all of a sudden you hear, hello? Is there anybody here with us?
Oh,
If you are here, please give us a sign.
like Kermit came through. Did y'all hear Kermit?
Right.
Man, Sheila, y'all know Sheila Gay? I don't know if both of y'all know her, but
Oh, I know her.
she has or had cancer. She's in remission, but her husband set an alarm on her phone that she didn't know about, and it says in a little kid's voice, take your medicine or you're gonna die tomorrow. And it and it has this little
Very, very.
voice. So they're in the middle of an investigation, and she said this thing goes off, and everybody's like, did you hear that? Oh my God. This little kid just said you're gonna die if you don't take your medicine. And then she
From the other side.
yeah. Then she messages her husband. She's like, well, did you put that on my phone? Like, here, everybody thought, everybody's gonna die.
That's funny.
Well, I guess that's a good place to close.
Yes. All right. Well, then I guess we will see you guys whenever we said the next June. What was it? June 16th.
June
Same time.
16th.
Well, yeah, it'll be like instead of 6 to 7, I put 6 to 7:30. I figure an hour and a half at least. We will probably run over that, is my guess. So we could run into 2 hours easy, especially the first one with having like 6 of us at the round table. So we'll just play it by ear, and whoever has to drop off has to drop off. But
I know it's gonna. I have a feeling it's gonna be like The View, but they're gonna bring back like Rosie O'Donnell.
yeah.
And, you know,
We'll play it by ear.
right? Like, you sound wonderful. That's great. Who are you? What is your opinion? You have no right here. It's gonna be an epic. It's gonna be an epic round table.
People are gonna be fighting, throwing shit at the laptop.
Right. How dare you, sir? How dare you?
Don't forget Baba Wawa.
Don't forget what?
Baba Wawa.
Yeah, Baba Wawa. How about our Baba Wawa? Best SNL skits ever.
I know it.
Today we're going to talk about why the world was so much fun with Baba Wawa.
We're dating ourselves again.
Oh, stop it.
You are.
Okay, good night. Good night, America.
Good night, everybody.
Bye. See you June 16th. Bye.
All righty. Bye-bye.